Functions don't always just have to display something. Functions can return something as well. I think the best introduction to this tutorial is by recapping our ternary operators. So let's say that I want to know which camera I'm going to be buying next. It all depends on the number of subscribers, so subscribe now to help me get a good camera. So the current number of subscribers is equal to 282. As of this recording, I have 282 subscribers. So the camera, this is our ternary operator that we've covered, and we're going to be making a decision right here. So if the number of subscribers is greater than 100,000, then the camera of choice, of course, will be the Canon EOS 1DX Mark II. Otherwise, used GoPro. So based on this, let's see which camera is in my foreseeable future. And what we're going to do is just dump the camera, not the number of subscribers. Number of subscribers we already know is 282. So I really hope that I'm going to be getting this Canon EOS 1DX Mark II. But, you can never be sure. So let's go ahead to the browser and actually check it out. So if we refresh this page, as you can see, unfortunately, I'm just getting a used GoPro. So in this case, we can assign one of two options to the camera variable. So let's copy the secret calculation function from the previous tutorial to look at our function example. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this whole do secret calculation function. I'll paste it in here. So just to kind of recap, the do secret calculation function is accepting two arguments. So we declare two different parameters, secret number 1 and secret number 2. It performs a brief calculation right here, and then depending on if this evaluation is greater than 0, it's going to either echo out you got the correct numbers, and if it's less than 0, it's going to say you have the wrong numbers. Like I said, this would be a perfect candidate to actually return a value. So let's say instead of it saying you got the correct numbers or you have the correct or the wrong numbers, we just want to return Z, right? Whatever the value is, we just want to return it. So what we're going to do, the way you return something is with the return keyword and then whatever you want to return. So in this case, we're going to return Z, which is just a numeric value, but we can return, like I said, literally anything. This could be a string, it could say Dino, this could be just a number, this could be an array of things like that. I mean, whatever we need it to do. But in this example, we're just going to go ahead and return Z. It's giving me the squiggly lines right here just because it says it's an unnecessary local variable, where we could just say return this, but I think for clarity purpose, I'm going to keep it exactly this way. So then we can go ahead and do something with this secret calculation function. So we can say do secret calculation. As you can see, I'm assigning it to number 1 right here. And we're going to pass two numbers, like for example, 10 and 33. And then we're going to do another secret calculation and assign it to number 2. And in this case, we'll pass something like 22 and 12. So we're going to go ahead and do a var dump of number 1 and var dump of number 2 just to see what those values could be. So if we go ahead and refresh this page, what we get on the first, for number 1, we get 1,289, for number 2, 836. So what it did, just to kind of recap, is we pass these two arguments to the do secret calculation function. The do secret calculation function actually processed and did some calculations on those numbers, and then once it was done, it actually returned a value to us. We then took that value, assigned it to each of the two variables right here, and then displayed them to the screen or to the browser. So like I said, a function can return any type, such as a string or an array. So one thing to note is that as soon as a function returns something, it will end the execution of that function. If there's anything after the return statement, it will not be executed. So let's say we have function assign 1, I don't know, And in there we have x is equal to 1, and then return x. So if we want to have something underneath here like x++, you can see that this is getting highlighted and says unreachable statement. Why? Well, because the function, once we invoke it, starts going down and says, oh, x is equal to 1, okay, return x, end function. So end the execution of this. So this right here will never be reached. So if we set something like 1 is equal to assign 1, that's basically what would happen. Let's go ahead and bar number 1. Refresh our browser, and you can see that we get the number 1 right here. So if the execution happened, if this x++ happened right here, right after this statement, it would have, of course, returned 2. So let's take another look. This time we'll be returning a string, so we can say something like function display 2, and we're going to return the string 2. And then we can actually use these functions. We don't have to every single time assign it to a variable like what we've been doing right here. We can concatenate it because what this is doing is returning the string 2. So just imagine like this whole function right here is just one big string statement, right? I mean, inside your head, of course, that's not really the case. But for example, we could say you are returning the number. And then, like I said, we can concatenate this function because this function will be replaced by the string 2. So if we open up our browser, hit refresh, you will see that it says you are returning the number 2. So one last thing, I think this is probably where we're going to end it, is we're going to be returning an array. Since I said a function can return an array, a function can also return objects, but we haven't gotten to that point yet, so we're not going to be reviewing that just yet. So we don't have to necessarily create a variable, local variable inside to return a value. We can return it just like what we did right here, just a string literal itself. So we can do the same thing with an array. We don't have to actually assign this array to a local value in order to return it. We could just return the array itself. So let's just say we have 3 things in here, 1, 2, and 3. And then we can pass the function into the var_dump function because all it is just returning an array. So the way var_dump is seeing it is just saying, oh, output this array, right? It doesn't see this whole function and getting a value in it. All at the end that the var_dump function cares about is that there's something in there, and there is, and it's an array, and it's just going to output that array. So we're going to call this function I am an array, and go to our browser, hit refresh, and there it is. So we var_dump is successfully displaying an array, and it's saying it has size 3, and each one of the elements are being displayed right here, which are 1, 2, and 3. So not only do we assign a function to a variable this time when invoking it, but we passed it as an argument to another function. So just kind of let that sink over inside your head. This is a function right here, and we passed this function as an argument to this function. So pretty interesting. The function returns the array, and then the array is dumped onto the screen using the var_dump function. Why am I enunciating this? Well, you'll see in a few tutorials when we actually do pass functions inside functions as variables.